I am not going to pretend for 1 second that I am any sort of expert when it comes to traveller's notebooks or junk journals. It's not something that I know anything about really, other than I've found as a scrapbooker that I have really enjoyed using a traveller's notebook as a scrapbook because it is much quicker. Sometimes I don't have time to do a full layout, and it's just nice to work on a different size sometimes. But other than that, like I said, I am absolutely no expert. However, I have, as well as my personal sort of traveller's notebooks, I have made notebook or inserts several times before. And even though these are listed as a traveller's notebook insert, quite frankly, you can use them for any occasion. You know, we've made them in classes for little presents. They make perfect little presents. I've put up in the group, pardon me, hi Karen, hi Tracy, a list of traveller's notebook insert sizes. Once again, I don't pretend to be any sort of expert. I just grabbed a whole load of sizes in case it was useful. And I'm going to show you some of my books here, which are all different sizes as it happens, which doesn't really help. So with regard to traveller's notebooks, sometimes, well, we have done in the past, we have done traveller's notebook kits in the scrap lab. I've got one ready to go, but obviously at the moment I haven't put it in the shop. But this was from the first kit that we had, where we actually had a little traveller's notebook included. This I think is standard size, and they tend to come with inserts ready made here. You know, I don't mind if my notebook's got lines on it. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. This is a little layout that I did actually for the Fiskars design team when I was on that, using some of the punches, which I love. But I just really like the size of traveller's notebooks. I just think that they're a really fun size to play around with. So this, I think, is what they describe as the standard size of a traveller's notebook. That's not what I'm going to make tonight. I'll show you what size I'm going to make. But no matter what size you make, the process is exactly the same. So that was one that I did. Oh, Natalie, this is one that I did for, I think it was the one and only cybercrop I've ever taken part in, which Natalie reminded me about in my favourite scrapbooking group, which is a UK scrapbooking group called For the Love of Pretty Paper. So if you're a scrapbooker and you're not in that, you know, and you don't mind something that's very UK based, then I absolutely recommend you go and join. Because it's just a brilliant group. It's full of so many talented, friendly and encouraging people, and it's my absolute favourite. So like I said, there was one of my personal little books. This one is a little bit bigger. This one was a project that I did whilst I was on the Hobbycraft design team. This was, I think it's American Crafts actually. This is quite a bit bigger. I'm not quite sure what size the cover is, but it does seem to take fairly standard sized notebooks. So here's my lovely Mel, who did say that she would pop in at some point. And then I've just documented, we went away for the weekend, not last Easter, obviously the Easter before. And I've just documented, you know, some of the times that we spent together there. I just think that, you know, traveller's notebook size scrapbooking is just so much fun.
Rizwana says so.
Hi Rizwana. Oh well, you did one. Did you do one? Yes, you did one of these, didn't you? One of the Hobbycraft ones. So that's another. Then this is the one that I'm going to work on tonight, which is Hobbycraft's own, actually, as it happens. I think they're still doing them, and I thought they were absolutely excellent value for money. But this is the one that I'm going to do my lockdown one in. I've been collecting stuff. Oh, look, Nat's put up the link to the For the Love of Pretty Paper group. Fantastic. Thoroughly recommend it. It's my absolute favourite group, other than this one, of course, on Facebook. So do go and join. I just think it's an ace group. So this is what I'm going to do my lockdown memories in, and I'm just trying to think if it's in here. Yeah, the night before lockdown happened, I've kept this to go in because it made me laugh. We must have had a Chinese takeaway, and this was in my fortune cookie, and it says live, think and act for today, tomorrow may be too late, and that just made me laugh. So that is going to go in the first page of my lockdown traveler's notebook. So there we go. So that's the size I'm going to be making tonight. It's not a standard size, it's, how do I pronounce it, Mark? Kaya size, which apparently is French for notebook. So it's a little bit bigger than the standard size. So that's what size I'm going to make. But like I said, it doesn't matter at all. Hi Gwen, I've already said that. Can't remember. They're all exactly the same. And I've just brought these in to show you as well, because this is just an example of how I transferred the same skills into making little notebooks, which is just great to give away for presents. You could make them, you know, for birthdays, you could make them for Christmas, whatever. But we're going to look at 2 ways of actually putting our books together, and one of them is going to be sewn. So you can see on this little notebook here, I've actually used some embroidery thread to sew my book together, and that's what one way that I'm going to show you tonight. This really isn't rocket science, so please don't expect anything miraculous, because it's really not. Hi Catherine. And then this is another one that I did where I've stapled them together, but it's just, like I said, it's just a little notebook. They're just really useful. This was another one I did exactly the same size again, but what I did here was I used these little rings to attach it together. So just another way that you can make a little gift for people, really. So let's get on. I did measure this a moment ago, and I've completely forgotten what size it was. But these really great Hobbycraft ones do come with inserts as well, and they're not expensive either, which is really good. Now this size, which is the one that I'm going to make, is approximately 5 inches by 8 1/4 inches. So all I need is some patterned paper, and I've chosen 2 here, and also I've just got some white printer paper. That's all I'm using. If you are a really serious scrapbooker, the printer paper won't do, because I don't think it's acid free. But for the, you know, if you're not that bothered, or you know, you're making them to give away or whatever, then printer paper will do perfectly well. I'm going to use this pattern paper as my cover, and I'm going to put an extra sheet of pattern paper halfway through my book as well, which is why I've grabbed that one. But if you are a junk journaler, and I really don't know anything about junk journals, but if you are a junk journaler, you can add in things like envelopes. In fact, I've got some here actually, so I could just show you roughly at some point how you can add in an envelope. You can add in envelopes, you can add in all sorts of different wonderful things. Oh good, glad to have been of use, Louise. So right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out our cover, and we're going to cut out our pages. So if the book is 5 inches by 8 1/4 inches, we need to cut out a cover which is 10 inches by 8 1/4 inches. Please don't expect anything technical tonight, because that's not going to happen. So I'm going to cut these 2 pattern papers into two sheets which are 10 by 8 1/4. So if you look at that list that I've given you of sizes, oh gosh, Karen, what GSM do I use for my paper or cards? The card that I use in my books, my preferred card, is what my supplier calls 4 sheet, which works out roughly at about 240 GSM. This is thinner. I'd say this is probably about 180 GSM, normal scrapbooking paper. I don't tend to go any thicker than that, although I do stock in the shop. I do stock some, I think it's about 300 GSM 12 by 12 card, which is great for mixed media if you're doing mixed media scrapbooking. But it's the same card that I use in my books. It's just a bit thicker, if that makes sense. So I hope that helps. Hi, Kerry. Yes, I know. Kerry is probably rushing off. Oh, is Claire still on Create and Craft, or is she finished? Kerry DT's for the Thirsty Brush Company, which is one of my favourite British sort of crafty businesses, and they do the most amazing stamps and this beautiful metallic watercolour paint that's come out today, and patterned vellums, which actually I'm just wondering, oh, she's just finished, I might put some of that vellum in my book because it's just beautiful. You've got to see this. It's just the most amazing thing. Hang on, let me show you. Let me grab it. See, this isn't one I made earlier, but I just happen to have it close by because I want to use it. But this is some of the Thirsty Brush Company stuff. These patterned vellums are just to die for, and I'll show you those. But look at these. I'm going to do a scrapbook layout with these. Dies and the stamps. Kerry's got me into stamping after seeing her beautiful book. So that's something that I want to get into. And these vellums are just, look at these. Look at that. Actually, that goes really, really well. I'm going to put some of that in. Yeah, I am. Right. Okay. So, yes, if you're making one of these inserts, sorry, I get so distracted. If you're making some of these inserts, if you want to make like a standard sized one, all you have to do is just grab that list that I've given you in the group. And basically, you're just doubling up on the width of the book because it's going to be folded. So here we go. Let me grab my cutter, my trimmer, and I'm going to cut my cover and the insert. I'm going to cut it at 10 inches by 8 1/4 inches, 8 1/4 inches being the height. So 8 1/4 by 10. And I'll do the same with that one. I'm just 8 1/4 by 10. Just wondering whether that's the best piece of vellum to use, or whether I think it might be nicer to use that one, because then it's not going to matter so much if I cut, because if I cut that down I'm going to lose all the good bits. So let's just have a look at that. I'm going to cut that at 10 by 8 1/4. It should be 8 1/4, more or less. Yeah, 8 1/4 being the standard width of a UK A4 size piece of paper. So, okay, I've got my three sheets there. Do you know what? That's a match made in heaven. I couldn't have done that better if I'd thought about it. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to cut out my pages, which I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to cut out of ordinary printer paper. So I've got some here, and I'm going to take 4 sheets at a time. I'm going to regret this, I think. And I'm going to cut them at 10 by 8 1/4. Let's just double check this is wide enough. It should be exactly 8 1/4.
Can you print on vellum?
You can print on some vellums, I think. Now I'm going to cut 8 altogether, but I don't know whether I'm going to need them all. You can definitely emboss. Is Kerry still here? Kerry can tell you all about vellum.
Oh, she just said see you later.
Oh dear, that's a pity. Do you mean, when you say print, do you mean in the computer printer thingy? Right. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got 8 sheets of plain paper, roughly the same size. And I've got my cover. I've got the vellum because it's pretty, and I've got that piece to go inside. Now this is when it starts getting really, really technical, okay? So get your bone folders. Actually, I have no idea where I put mine. I had to tidy up before class, which means I will never, ever, ever find it again. It's not where it should be. Oh, I'll have to use this one. Okay, and all I'm going to do, very, very technical, is I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to burnish it really well. I like to burnish on both sides. And I'm going to do this for every single sheet of paper and the vellum. So talk amongst yourselves because this may take me a moment. Now keep an eye on the group this weekend because I'm hoping to announce something quite exciting. Something that's kept me very busy this week, so I apologise for being not available as usual, but I've had a little project on the go which I think you will like, but I'll be able to tell you more hopefully this weekend. Right. Probably not going to need all of these. Just thinking. Depends how thick it's getting. I might do just 4. See how I get on. You can do them as thick as you like, but obviously the more that you have, the more bulky your insert is going to be. I think I'm going to leave it at that. So I've got 4 sheets of plain paper, my cover, 1 pattern paper insert and 1 vellum insert. So now I just have to decide what sort of order I want them in. So this is my cover. I'm going to put in 2 sheets of plain paper. Then I'm going to add my vellum. Then I'm going to add 1 more sheet of plain paper. I'm going to add my pattern paper, making sure I've got it the right way around. And I'm going to add that in. So let's see how that goes. Not bad. Okay, so that is my insert. I find it helps for the next bit if I just clip everything into place because we're going to sew this one. So I'm just going to make sure everything lines up. And I'm going to clip those pages into place. I'm only going to clip them on one side because I need to be able to lie this down relatively flat. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my trusty mat. and a ruler and my pokey tool. Right, am I missing any questions because I've taken my glasses off?
No, I think they all make sense.
Yeah, Sue's absolutely right. Different sizes of paper. You can add in, I did have envelopes, so you could like add in that there so that the envelope bit is, well, I'd put that on a different sheet so it's poking through, and like in the shabby mini, you could stick something on there as well to keep it together, but use that bit of the envelope there as a, you know, as your middle. But if you're making junk journals, then that's exactly the sort of stuff that you'd do. You know, just add in all sorts of weird and wonderful bits and bobs that you've got. I wonder what that was. A cat, I think. Right, so what we're going to do now is I've got my pokey tool and I'm going to measure points where I'm going to sew. So I want to have my, oh look, magnets. Wondered where they've gone. I'm going to have my sewing points starting 1 inch up. So there. And I'm going to make a hole all the way through. I'm going to measure in 1 inch from the top. And I'm going to see what measurement I've got there. I've got 6 1/4. Mark, what would be good increments? If it's 6 1/4.
Quarter.
Yeah, 1/4 of an inch, that's a bit big. Does 3/4 of an inch fit in? 1.
No.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it doesn't. I don't know. If I... Oh, this is too technical for me now. It's going to have to be 1/4 inches, isn't it? That's very tight.
About a 9th. Or...
No, I want bigger than 1/4 inch, otherwise we're going to be here all night. One, 2, 3. I might just, if I just cheat a little bit. Right, I'm going to put roughly just over 1 inch there, I reckon. So there, 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 and there. Right, so I've just made little marks where I'm going to use my pokey tool again.
You're better off working from the middle and working out.
Yeah, I would have been better doing that. But never mind, too late now. Okay, so basically now what I've done is I've made holes all the way through my book. You can see that. Those holes are coming through exactly on the fold, which is where we want them. And now I'm going to sew. So, here's my little box of tricks. I have got ordinary cotton, which I can use, or I can use some thread, embroidery thread. So, let's have a look. Now I've got to find one with a big enough eye. This may take a minute for me to thread this. Now on this little book, I've tied it with a bow at the top. So if that's what I want to do, what I need to do is start off on the outside. So because I've already made my holes, I can see that's where the first one is, and that's where I'm going to put in my first thread. And I'm going to leave, oh, that wasn't as long as I anticipated. It's not really long enough to do this. I'm going to leave a bit of a thread, and I'm just going to clip that up out of the way, just to keep it safe. Okay, then I'm simply going to sew down my book through the holes that I've already made. Ooh. And then when I get to the bottom,
yeah, Sue has pointed out you sell a rule that works from the middle.
my what?
You sell a rule that works from the middle, so I said about working from the middle.
I don't know if I've got any left, but that would have been a very sensible thing to do. And now I'm just going to go back on myself.
How many strands, 2 or 3?
It's entirely up to you. I'm using the whole thing. But you can just use ordinary cotton, to be honest with you. Or invisible cotton. I contemplated using that earlier on. But this is this thread, I don't know how well you can see it. It's a rolled thread as opposed to stranded cotton that you pull apart. I know it's got a proper name, but I can't think what it is. Ouch. Right, okay, so that's sewn all the way up the inside. And here, now I can just take the thread and tie it. And I can either cut it off like that, or I can make a little bow. Whatever I want to do. Unclip it. Fold it over. And there's my insert. I told you it wasn't rocket science. There's my little... How cute's that? I'm really glad I put that in. Okay, there we go, and I'm going to pop that now into my traveller's notebook. There we go. There it fits. Simple as. And you can make those any size you like, and it just makes a super, super easy little insert. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it with a stapler. The only reason that I'm going to show you how to do it with a stapler is because I want to show you my stapler, because my stapler is the best stapler in the world, and that's the only reason. So I'm going to get my trimmer and some of this pattern paper that I've got left. Whoops. I'm just going to cut it at a sensible size, what I've got left, because I'm only going to show you what to do. So that's going to be, let's cut it 3.5 by, oh, I don't know. I'm going to make a long notebook, so it's going to be 3.5 by 9. So just want some plain papers, just because it's easy and I'm only showing you roughly what to do. And I'm going to cut those at 3.5 by 9. What else can I put in there? Let's use this vellum this time. So 3.5. I'm going to put a couple of sheets of that in, I think. By 9. And I'm just going to fold those in half again. Just make sure that I've burnished those edges, because that helps a lot when we come to put the book together. I did fold that one very well, not to worry. Okay, and now I'm just going to put that together, but I think I'm going to put one of these on the outside because that would look really cute. And I think we'll have a couple of those, and then another vellum, and then a couple more plain sheets. Right, now let's place those together. Just going to grab my clips again. Now, if you're going to staple, you really need a long arm stapler, which this doesn't look like it is, but this is one of the best purchases ever, and I will put the link up, or maybe Mark can find it. It was on Amazon.
Yep. I
don't know if you can find it, but this is a long arm stapler, because look at this, it's so cool. Look, it's a long arm stapler. How cool is that? It is just the coolest thing ever, and now I can't remember how to use it. Like that. So you staple, this thing that staples moves around. I just think it's the coolest thing ever. Right, so I want the flat bits of my staple on the outside of my book. So I'm just going to line it up. And I'm going to staple. Oh, I've done it slightly to the side, but it doesn't matter. But you get the idea. Oh, I think it's so cool. I could make these books all day just because this stapler is so incredibly cool.
Was it about a tenner?
Yeah, it's not much. It was, yeah, it is about a tenner or so. So there we go. I've got my staples into my notebook. Fold it over. And I've got a little notebook that I can either make notes in, I can give away as a present, I could decorate the front, whatever I fancy. How cute is that? Oh, I think it's brilliant. But this stapler has got to be the best bit of design I have seen ever. So, yes, good old Amazon. Mark's put you the link up. And there you go. That's it. That's all I've got to show you tonight, really. I'm sorry it was so short and sweet, but
It was an extra.
it was a little bit of an extra thing for you that I promised Natalie for ages that I would do this. So I'm just absolutely delighted that Natalie could join us tonight. So go along and join for the love of pretty paper, because it's just the best ever group. And if you want to make some notebooks, then make sure you put them in the group. We're back on Wednesday for our embellishment clusters and stuff, and all I'm going to tell you about that is just grab stuff. Just grab any punches, grab your dies, grab your scissors, grab patterned paper that's got patterns on it that you can cut out, whatever. And I can tell you that the week after, the Wednesday after, I'm going to show you how to make a mini book out of greetings cards. So for example, I've got some notelets here, just I haven't made it yet, so we're gonna have to hope this works, but I've just got some notelets. But you might have birthday cards and stuff like that you never know what to do with, but what we're going to do is we're going to turn those into a mini book. So watch this space. That's what we're going to do the week after, but possibly Sunday afternoon, I don't know for sure, but possibly Sunday afternoon, when I can make this announcement, I will tell you what time, and I'll have something to show you in the group. All right, guys, so enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. I do hope that you have a really great weekend, and I will see you guys really, really soon. All right then, bye.
Bye.